Welcome to Brockton Community Access Studios. Mark Lindy, your host today for Election 2016, the special state representative race for the 9th Plymouth District. I am joined here in studio by two regular politicos. How's
Familiar
that?
faces.
Familiar faces. Okay, we have here in the studio with me Larry Curtis. Welcome, Larry.
Thank you, Mark, for being here.
And we have Senator and Clerk of Courts Robert Creedon. Welcome.
I thought you might have said a couple of young men.
I guess I'm the youngest. I don't know.
Yeah, you're the rose between two thorns.
There we go. There we go. So we are here to tell you about the 9th Plymouth District race, easy for me to say, and it is 12 precincts out of 28 here in the City of Champions. There are 3 candidates in the race. In alphabetical order, Shirley Asack, City Councilor from Ward 7. Next up is City Councilor at Large Shana Barnes, and third is Jerry Cassidy. Jerry Cassidy is the former Ward 3 City Councilor and longtime aide to Senator Tom Kennedy. We went out today in the field, and we'll talk about that in a minute because we're going to let him cue the stuff. Jay Miller went out in the field and talked to all 3 of the candidates, and we have a brand new, newly minted 18-year-old voter voting for the first time over at the Bel Air high-rise. We won't tell you who it is at the moment. You'll be able to see who that is. So, gentlemen, you have been out and about. I mean, you get day jobs, okay, but off to the side on a break or a luncheon break or whatever, there's an election today. What have you folks heard? I'll start with Larry first.
Well, I think as expected, the turnout is probably going to be no more than about 10 or 11%. You know, it is a special election. You know, in some ways, I think the city's burnt out with elections. When you go back, this is what, our 3rd special election in probably 8-9 months now. When you think of the casino back in May, then we had State Senator Brady, special election to fill the seat of longtime Senator Tom Kennedy, who passed away. And now here we are again, filling the seat for Rep. Brady. You know, so in addition to that, we had our regular city elections. And what are we looking forward to in 2016? All the political national elections.
Well, we got the March 1st presidential primary. We then will have this election all over again, depending on the outcome of this particular election.
Yep.
If someone really does incredibly well, then you don't know how many challenges they're going to be. But the signs are all printed. The only thing you'd have to do is if someone printed date on a sign,
Yep.
I think Shana did, you need a nice sticker to put over it or do a new sign.
Well, I think that in itself is going to be pretty telling tonight because, you know, as we saw in the previous race when Michael Brady, Bob Sullivan, and Connor Units ran in a Democratic primary, and it was won by 13 votes. In this case here, where you have to come right back, literally, and start campaigning again within the next 6 months, if the second-place finisher in this race is close, anywhere near close, within 100 votes, I don't see why that second-place finish doesn't come right back.
Well,
you know,
in that case, the election will probably start the next day.
The next day, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Senator, what are you seeing out there or hearing out there? You're finally attuned to this whole process.
Well, frankly, I spoke to a lot of folks who live in the district, and they were inundated by campaign material, both printed and phone calls. So all 3 candidates have been quite intense. They all have either been an elected official or are in office presently. I think they all know how to identify votes and how to pull votes. And they're all from fairly prominent families. Jerry Cassidy, Shana Barnes is from the Williams family. They all grew up with us down the east side. Her uncles are dear friends of mine. And the Asack family, so 3 well-known families in the city. So it's going to be a very interesting, I think, evening to see how things turn out. It may, as is frequently the case with legislative districts, a lot of it may turn on how this district was formed or created. I can tell you from my years in politics, you always watched what they were trying to give to you or take away from you in your district. I used to kid how I wanted to take, when I was in the Senate, there was a piece of Bridgewater that was all Brockton people. And I remember saying to Mark Pacheco, who was the senator, and he'd look at me and say, no, you're not going to have that. He says, you don't need it. I said, well, but I would like to have it. They're all Brocktonians over there.
Right.
But I mean, now representing the entire county, the diaspora, those former Brocktonians who are spread about, a ton of them down through Plymouth County. And so this race here, I think, we can talk about it later, how the configuration of the district aided in one candidate's
Oh,
favor.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And, I think what's important here, too, is that this is one of the rare times when all the precincts involved in this district are in the city of Brockton.
Yes.
That unlike your other reps who have outlying, precincts in other local towns, this is all city of Brockton.
Yes, yeah.
And what's interesting as well is you have one candidate that ran in all of the precincts in the entire city, that being Shada Barnes, all
Council at
28
large, yeah.
precincts, Counselor at Large. Jerry Cassidy in the past ran in 3.
Yep.
And Shirley Azak ran in 7. And talk about the geography, if you look at how many precincts there are in in this district, it is an advantage. We were talking about that before the
Clearly.
election. But at this point, before we go into that, because we always need to make sure we get the numbers right and we get official sources, Jay Miller caught up with the candidates out in the field, and we have some video that we'd like to show you, starting with early morning. Our people work very hard here at BCA, and let's take a look at what Jay Miller did when he caught up with the candidates, if we could.
Thanks, Mark. As the sun rises, we are at Bel Air Towers, Precinct 7B. We hope to meet all the candidates today. They're running, of course, for the vacated state representative seat, the 9th Plymouth District, vacated by now Senator Mike Brady. Hope to meet all the candidates. And we also will meet a father and a daughter. The daughter voting for the first time, and the father, former school committee member, Ray Henningsen.
Hi, I'm Megan Henningsen.
And I'm Ray Henningsen.
We're here at Bel Air Towers today voting. This is my first time voting, so it was really important to me because I know that every election is important no matter what it is. So this special election, I'm so glad that I had the opportunity to vote in it and hopefully voice my opinion and bring some change to the city.
And as a dad, I'm proud of her for taking the time to come out and vote and show the civic engagement that's absolutely necessary for our young adults to show.
And what are you doing today, Ray?
I'm actually working, holding signs for one of the candidates today for the special election.
And who are you holding signs for?
I'm holding signs for Shirley Azak, the current Ward 7 city councilor, hopefully state rep, and we'll see tonight how things work out.
How's our campaign gone in your eyes?
I think our campaign has gone very good. We've done a very clean campaign. We've had a very positive message. We're telling the voters that Shirley is here for the people, and she is our voice, and we're hoping for a good turnout today.
This was an opportunity for me to be able to represent my community at just a different level to really bring Brockton's voice to the State House.
And how has the campaign gone for you?
It's been an amazing campaign. It's, I mean, I can't, it's had its ups and downs, and we've, between the holidays, this being in the middle of winter, but I thank God for today, because today actually is, it could be a lot worse. We could have a lot more snow, so I'm very grateful for today's weather. But it's been a long campaign. Even though it's been a few months, it's been a long campaign. We hit every door in the 9th Plymouth District. We tried to get the word out there. We did our best to make sure that everybody knew there was an election, that there was this special election. So we tried to get everybody out that was in the district to come out and vote.
All right. What have you learned about the city as a whole? Have you learned anything new?
Well, I don't know if I don't think anything new. It just reminded me of why I love the city so much. We really are a very diverse city, and it's 9th Plymouth District. We're a big city. I mean, the district alone, we walked every single street, and it took us a good amount of time, and in the winter. So we're a big city, yet we're like a small town. I've learned a lot about the people around me more than I think that about myself. It's just the people, the amazing support we've had, and the people that I've gotten to know better through this campaign. But really about myself, I think, I mean, I'm still the same person. I want to thank everybody. So everybody that came out to vote today, I would like to thank them, and for all the people that supported me, that it means a lot to us.
As we leave the Kennedy School, we're heading to the south side of town, to the Campello section. We're planning on tracking down Councilor Shana Barnes to see how her campaign is going today.
As a city councilor, I developed some relationships at the State House with our legislature, and I realized that that's where all the change happens. That's where all the influence comes from. When we get our budget and we get our funding for the year, it comes from the advocacy of our delegation at the State House. And when the position made itself available with the election of Mike Brady to the Senate, I realized that we need a really strong piece to fit into that open space, and a strong advocate and a strong person to endorse Brockton, and to be a person that can definitely leverage our assets appropriately at the State House. So I feel that I'm the one that can do that. I've worked with several of the legislators already in securing some funding that they're looking to distribute in the city of Brockton, and also some well-needed resources that I think that we've been left out of for so long. It's a very different campaign than running at large. Being an at-large counselor, you're all over the city, and meeting all kinds of people, and trying to really get yourself involved and get yourself out there and get your name out there to everybody. But this is a really targeted, concentrated area, and I've had to become a little bit more intimately involved with the people in the 9th Plymouth District, because it's a higher level, and the stakes are a lot higher. So I've learned from the folks in the 9th Plymouth District, first of all, that they care about their area, and I care about our area. I'm a 9th Plymouth girl. That's where I live. I live in 5A. And I'm learning that we share the same values. So as I'm out there knocking on the doors, the things that people are caring about are the things that I care about. We have to make sure that we are competitive and that we keep up. And we have to build those relationships, build those bridges, and we have to develop those networks so that we can compete. We can't continue to lag behind. So I'm learning that, or what I've learned new about the city is that we're poised and we're ready. We're ready to take that next step. We just need the right people at the helm. And I feel that working with our current delegation and the other representatives from the 350 cities and towns in Massachusetts, we can do that. I couldn't be prouder. I couldn't be prouder of the campaign. I couldn't be prouder of kind of how things have run, and how we've handled ourselves professionally, and we're going to continue to go forward and do that. And I will serve Brockton and be a representative for Brockton, and serve with professionalism and with character and integrity.
Our next stop will be Prospect Avenue, right around the corner from the Campello High Rise, where Jerry Cassidy's headquarters are located.
We're here at the Union Hall, the Firefighters Union Hall. It's been great, all the union support and family, friends, and constituents that I've met over the last 4 months. I decided to run to make Brockton a better place, and just with my knowledge and work experience at the State House, 28 years working with Senator Tom Kennedy, and I really do believe he's running the campaign for me from above. Being a lifelong Brocktonian, 28 years, working relationships with a lot of the House members, where I think that would just be a powerful asset to the city of Brockton. I've ran campaigns for 30 years with Senator Kennedy, and it's just very difficult to be out front. I'd rather run the campaign. It's very interesting to stand back. People say, "Oh, you can't do that," but it's what I've always done, and being in the front is a lot more difficult than running the campaign. For Local 144, the firefighters have endorsed me. It's been very overwhelming, and Senator Kennedy's wife, she sent out an awfully nice letter that I'm just awestruck about the turnout with the AFL-CIO, Mass Nurses. They're a wonderful group. I'm probably going to miss some, so I just want to stop there. Thank you to the public for the overwhelming support, and More importantly, I'd love to thank my wife, Megan, and my son, Ned, and Bridget for working so hard on the campaign. Life is short, so we should thank all the loved ones that we have. It's just a wonderful, and the constituents, the neighbors, old neighbors from Forest Ave, and it's just a wonderful, Mariani family. Thank you, Nancy. It's just great family support. It's just a great city. It's once it's in your heart, it doesn't leave you.
And thank you very much to Jay Miller, out early this morning with our new voter, Megan Henningsen, and her father, Ray, over at Bel Air. And then we heard from all three of the candidates in this race. So any observations, gentlemen, from what you just heard?
Nothing surprising, quite honestly. I think, one of the nice things that this has been a pretty clean and neat campaign from the perspective of nobody trash talking or, pulling, unscrupulous issues out there. All the signs seem to stay around the city fairly well that were put up throughout the course of the campaign. So nothing surprising in that line.
I would echo Larry's comments. Very clean campaign, well run, both the ground games that we've witnessed and the media approach through, and of course the new part of campaigning through Twitter and Tweeter and what have you, something that wasn't around when I was.
Social media.
The social media.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I find looking at the impact of that, from my perspective, very interesting, because it didn't exist.
Correct, right. Mm-hmm. They were doing smoke signals back when you were running, right there?
Correct. We commuted. Windy days were difficult.
No, it's a really good overall campaign that was ran, as just mentioned earlier, well organized.
Yes.
Strong ground game. Every day there was always somebody out there beating the streets, looking for that extra vote that's going to be desperately needed here tonight, because if you're looking at a 10, 11% turnout, we know every vote counts.
And Larry, the other thing, it's a lesson I learned, when was it? Oh, when I ran for the Senate many moons ago in 1972. Most folks listening today probably weren't. Well, Senator Brady, you weren't around then. You were only.
We're getting him mic'd up.
But you learn about absentee ballots.
Right. Yes.
And I got a real lesson. I lost the election by about 73 votes, and my dear friend who beat me worked absentees. So you live and you learn.
Mm-hmm.
And I suspect in this election, we'll have to talk to John McGarry tomorrow, but I suspect absentee ballots will play a part in this election, especially, as Larry points out, small turnout.
Yep.
And
no question there, and that's a good point. I mean, middle of the winter, a lot of elderly high-rises are in some of these precincts out there, and it's a lot easier to get that ballot and mail it in, for sure.
Well, we now have a guest joining us in studio, our newly minted State Senator, Michael Brady. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you, Buck. Thank you for inviting me tonight, and good to join the former senator, the clerk from the Plymouth County, Mr. Creedon, and our good friend Larry as well. And as was mentioned, I believe I've heard it's just over 10% turnout, give or take, out there. And it's so important, as the clerk mentioned, to get your vote out. And I'm looking forward. We got to give a lot of credit. I know Bob Creedon served as a senator from the district, and our good friend Tommy Kennedy, God rest his soul, who served for many years in the House and the Senate. And now looking forward to working with the next elected official from this district. And it's so important we have good representation. It's been very important. We're fighting every day to get the dollars for Brockton. We've got, the two college situations that have been put on hold by this current governor and his administration that we've been trying to work with Representative Claire Cronin and Representative Dubois. But the downtown college collaboration, it's nice we have the courthouse downtown, but as we know, most people won't go to court. They want to get the heck out of there. They don't want to stick around. We need to have proper development for our downtown. I know this mayor's administration has tried to do that, but the college collaboration or something like that would be the icing on the cake. And the Allied Health Center at the campus at Massillon is so important. And there was a proposal at the old Christos site, and that's been put on hold, and now I'm looking to meet with the president of the college to see where we're going forward with that. You know, the allied health care is where the jobs are. It's so important to train people in our age group that want to go back to school to learn because their careers change, as well as people that are just getting out of high school. With perfect grade point averages, there's a waiting list of over 100 students trying to get into the nursing program at Mass Right alone, and that is so important. And that's where the jobs are growing in the healthcare industry, and so important for our area. So I'm looking forward to get the ball rolling. Whoever wins in tonight's election, there is not a Republican candidate on the ballot. Doesn't mean they couldn't try a write-in or something, but that all being said, I'm looking forward to work with the next elected official from the 9th Plymouth District, and hopefully getting all of us working together to benefit our community in the city of Brockton here.
Question for you, Senator. I know that this was a tough election for you to kind of stay behind the scenes on. Jerry worked in your office.
Yes.
Okay. And you have been colleagues with both Council Barnes and Shirley Azak, not
Correct.
serving on the council with them, but serving in government with them. How much of a delicate balancing act was that during
Well, it's very
the election?
difficult when you've got three close people running, and I know it was difficult when I ran in my races, the same thing. You have so many close relationships. Even though Brockton is a city of 97,000 people, we're all very close. It's like a small town in our community in Brockton. And sometimes it's tough, and your heart is torn because there's so many great people running for these seats. And I know it was difficult when I ran, not only for my rep seat over 9 years ago, but the city council seat. We had friends running against each other back then. And some of my most strongest opponents are now my biggest supporters, because I learned way back from the man at the other end of this table, this game is about addition, not subtraction. And I've had some great support from communities and people all across the board, not only in Brockton, but the rest of the 2nd Plymouth-Bristol District. And that's why whoever wins tonight's election, I'm looking forward to working with them, and we have to work together to get things done in this community. And with our city council, our mayor, our school committee, and the rest of the state delegation, and even in the State House, unlike what you hear at the federal level in Washington, where they're constantly fighting and it gets ridiculous, the bickering that goes on, we work across the aisle with Republicans and Democrats in the State House, and we've passed some great legislation. The opiate addiction crisis that's facing us all, if you're from Brockton, if you're from Dover, Weston, it's affecting so many good families out there. We finally passed legislation and got some funding to address the issue. And the Baker administration has a task force. He's a Republican governor. Senate President has a task force, and the House Speaker has a task force. So we're all working together to address that issue. Funding for our schools is so important. Doesn't mean we agree on every issue. I'm fighting, you know, there's an issue about lifting the cap in charter schools, and whether you're for or against it, I'm fighting to fight for every dollar with the rest of our Brockton delegation to make sure we have proper funding to support our schools. And we fought against this for-profit charter school that has tried to come in here. That would be a devastating hit to the financial situation in our school budget. But we have to work together to get things done. And I think it's a big difference in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts that Republicans and Democrats have worked together to get things done, unlike the rest of the country. And as I mentioned, whoever wins tonight, I'm looking forward to working with them.
Any questions for the senator?
Well, I think, you know, you mentioned it's all about funding and coming in from the state level in support of the city. You saw in Mayor Carpenter's address to the city in his second inaugural address, he's looking at a $9 million shortfall in our school department based upon the fact of the raises and for that contract raises that are in place, a $9 million shortfall. We've got to work together, as you said, Senator, and bring us that. Bring it home.
Yeah,
bring it
absolutely.
Home, please, you know.
And it's nice that, you know, each year we have increased funding in local aid and Chapter 70 money, but it's never enough, as you know. And you've got contract obligations you have to fund, you have pension obligations, and insurance costs, which is devastating us. But those are obligations that are already worked out in contracts that we have to fund. We can't change that, but we've got to try to reach different means to bring more funding back from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to cities like Brockton. We wouldn't survive without state funding here. And our school system is doing very well. They're doing a lot better when I was in school, I'll tell you. More of our students are going to colleges through the Abigail Adams scholarships. They're doing fantastic. And without the funding from the state, we wouldn't be able to get that done. In our Chapter 90 money, as we know, our roads are in deplorable condition. We approved getting West Elm Street done many, many years ago, but it kept been put on hold and put on hold. And finally, a few months back, they finally had the groundbreaking. I know It's still a tough road. It's going to be probably about an 18-month project, a year and a half. And I was up in that neighborhood today. They were putting new telephone poles in there and getting that whole road prepared. But that's just one thoroughfare. You know, our gateways into the city of Brockton, we were able to get Route 123 funded years ago with Service Transportation Bond money. Route 27, Pleasant Street just got done. The other gateways into the city over near where Christo's and Massasoit, we approved a bond transportation bill for funding of that intersection, which is so important, and also for two-way traffic on Main Street. But again, if the governor's under a tight budget and he says he can't release the money, our hands are tied. We're working with this administration as thoroughly as possible, but again, we need to fight for every dollar for our community here.
Well, we have good schools. We have good Brockton Public Schools. We have choices. We have Southeastern, which is a level 1 school with great MCAS scores, so that's another. We have a wonderful school system, you know, with Trinity Catholic and Cardinal Spellman and everything like that. The charter school fight, we've been 3 rounds so far. We're
it's
hoping
crazy.
that the Commonwealth is going to come to its senses, at least this administration, where Governor Baker and his Secretary of Education are absolutely pro-charter schools.
Right.
That's the big fight over the years, because it would be just devastating to
And our Brockton delegation has worked together to work to fight against this for-profit charter school coming to Brockton when there's not a need of it. The test scores are above the state average, which they set that rate on. We're doing what we need to do here. Other communities may be in need of an idea for a charter school, but Brockton is well above the level that the state set and everybody agreed upon. And as you mentioned, Mark, we have many choices. We have students that go to West Bridgewater and Avon schools that their schools probably would have shut down because their population dropped several years ago. We have the Champion Charter School that was failing, so that got absorbed by the school system. We have a great school in Southeastern Regional School. We have the Catholic Academy. There's several choices here. That all being said, they're still trying to lift the cap on charter schools, and they're trying to open the door. If they want to put them in other communities, so be it, but we have to hold strong in Brockton here.
And I think in that regard, you need a united front, that is to say the mayor, the councilors, the senator, and the representatives sitting down with Charlie Baker and call for that meeting.
Yes.
Go in there, sit down with him, and explain. Because as you'll learn, government today is not necessarily the elected officials. Bureaucracy plays a role today well beyond what the founding fathers never envisioned bureaucracies. Now, they control government at the federal level, at the state level, and to some extent at the local level. Elected officials come and go. Bureaucrats stay forever. And so the only way to counter that is to make your position quite clear to the governor that, as Senator Brady pointed out, we have a superb public school education for our children here in Brockton, and we don't need anything to tip up the apple cart.
Absolutely.
If you want to help us, give us increased funding.
Right.
Don't take money away from us.
Well, it's interesting and amazing how you get things via technology. I'm not putting numbers up on the screen till we have official numbers, but of course I'm getting texts from people with information. Just so you know, and I'm not going to say who yet, 1 vote apart on 2 candidates. This close election thing, which, Michael, you're very all familiar with, there's 2 candidates at the moment, from what I have, that are separated by 1 vote. There's 1 candidate that's ahead of the pack. I'm not going to release anything yet because I understand the Ward 2 numbers are just starting to get to City Hall, but as you guys know, each of the precincts has their own tape. They got to get back to City Hall, get posted on the board, and then get digested, I guess is the right word. Okay? We were talking about the district before, and while we're waiting for some of that information, Senator, maybe you can tell us what you were observing before we went on the air about the way the district is set up.
Well, in any legislative district, whether it's a city council ward seat or a state representative seat or a congressional seat, the configuration of the district is extremely important to look at. I recall when they redistricted the Senate, and the Senate president said to me, well, no one's going to defeat you. You've got to take these towns down in Plymouth County. and they were fairly rural towns. And I looked at them and I said, are you going to give me a pickup truck with a gun rack on the back too? You know, because the voters down there were totally different than my voters here in the city. And of course, my voting record would be different representing an urban district than a rural district. And so, as I observed when I was looking at this election today, the configuration of that district, I think will be a major factor in the outcome today. And when the final numbers are in, we'll take a look at that statement.
Okay, because if you look at 2 precincts in Ward 7, which is Shirley Asak's home district, 1 in Ward 5, which is Shana Barnes's district, and 3 in Ward 3, which is Jerry Cassidy's home ward, I should say, not district. And then 2 and 4, Ward 2 is the only one, your home base, Michael, which is all 4 precincts.
But didn't Jerry grow up on Forest Avenue?
Yes,
Yeah.
right near the fairgrounds there.
Right.
And then a couple in 4.
That's
So-
2D.
So 12 precincts out of 28, and as I was alluding before, the only one that's run in 12 of the 12 is Shana Barnes, when she ran twice for councilor at large, okay? So.
But
it
the
is-
at-large race is different than a ward race.
Right,
In fact, there's probably no better retail politician today in the city than our senator. He got his training in Ward 2, and he answered those. You're right on the front lines. There's no ducking.
Yep.
You know, when you're in the Senate in Boston, some people don't want to spend the toll call to bother you. But if you're the Ward 2 councilor or the Ward 5 councilor, they're calling you on all their immediate problems, whether it's snow removal, potholes, street lights, anything. So a ward, frequently people are shocked at who gets elected to the Senate, because oftentimes it's a real retail type politician. And the reason is he's had complete contact with the voters. Whereas if you're a councilor at large, you
Right.
don't have that contact.
Well, I think the council at large numbers can be a little bit misleading when you're coming down to a race that you only are allowed to get 1 vote from the voter.
Correct.
You know, at
Count-
large, there were 4 votes I could cast.
And
Yeah.
you can promote what we call the bullet,
The bullet.
where instead of voting for 4, you vote for 1.
Right.
Those things factor in. I remember I ran for the council seat at large, and I think I won every precinct, and I didn't campaign for 1 minute. Tommy Monahan's father went and got my signatures and put me on the ballot, but I had just run for the Senate and lost, spent a ton of time campaigning,
Yeah.
and that campaigning paid off in the at-large race where I won every precinct without campaigning.
Right.
So, but it's a different race than a ward race. As Larry points out, it's head-on-head.
Yeah, it's a 1 vote situation there,
right.
you know. And, you know, I think that in the case of Councilor at Large, Shana Barnes, that there may have been a little misforecasting as to her strength, because if I recall correctly, in the general election, she had pulled somewhere close to 2,000 votes out of the 9th Plymouth district, thinking that she had a solid base of votes in there. But as we all know, this is a different office.
It's a different
It's
race.
a different race.
We had a
altogether.
fellow recently from Brockton who ran for a county race. He was the only candidate from Brockton, and he pulled a heck of a vote out of Brockton. But he was the only Brockton candidate. And then he ran for councilor at large and didn't even finish in the top 8. So, you know, you have to look at what does the district look like?
Exactly.
What's its configuration? And what seat are you running for? Are you seeking 1 of 4 votes? Or as Larry points out, it's mano a mano,
Yeah.
one-on-one. That's a little tough.
And yeah, I think also, too, when you're looking at the district as it's designed, and you now look at the diversity that exists within our city, you know, particularly
Right.
in Ward 2, and you've got a minority vote that's out there, and we saw the success of bringing out the minority vote in the mayor's election, and how strong that ended up for Mayor Carpenter's campaign going forward. And now you've got a minority candidate, and it's in Shana Barnes. You've got the diversity of, you know, the other 2 candidates that are doing, and almost they pull from one another. You know, they're hurting each other. And,
Yes.
you know, who's going to be the winner tonight? You know,
It's exactly correct.
yeah.
Michael, you are out and about today, I'm sure. Were you still doing coffee runs like you always do?
I was, and I'm very fortunate. I have a great group of volunteers, and I have to confess, I learned from Joe Moakley when he was our congressman. He used to give coffee to all the people holding signs and people working the polls, and I took that lead from him, and I do it in every election just to offer a nice gesture to everybody else, because everybody's spending their hard-earned time to help out whoever the candidates are, and I have a great group of volunteers that help me out every election for that, and now all our friends expect it, so I can't give it up. But as the clerk mentioned, in this type of election and serving as a former ward councilor, it's a hands-on approach. I was laughing a few seconds ago. I used to get the calls from everything from the cat stuck on the tree to some more serious issues of maybe gunshots in the neighborhood. In this particular district as well in the city of Brockton, public safety is still a big issue. You know, a lot goes hand in hand with the illegal drug activity that's going on, but a lot of concerns from the residents. I served as a vice chairman of public safety. We were able to get more funding for the Shannon Grant into the city of Brockton, and I know the administration at the state level is going to be announcing this week of what type of funding we're going to have for the Shannon Grant at the State House coming up this week. Very important for the city of Brockton. It helps with gang prevention. It helps with keeping these kids off the street, and it helps our police department with the necessary tools to work together. And the state police in Brockton has helped as well. And another big important issue, we're working with our district attorney's office to keep that in a downtown location so crucial, and that's right in the heart of this district that we're talking about. And we've met with the administration at the state level, met with our DA, and we're hoping to keep our DA's office in a downtown location. So again, this new representative serving this area is going to be working on that as well with all of us. So.
Well, I just got a cue that we have 5A numbers, and I'm not sure if they're ready to put up on the screen. Okay, there we go. 5A is 1 precinct out of 12, and the numbers in 5A, which is Shana Barnes' home precinct, is Shirley Asack, 37. Okay, 37. Shana Barnes at 51, and Jerry Cassidy at 36. So Shana Barnes' home precinct, she wins. I told you, and this could be a trend, 37 and 36, 1 vote apart. This thing in Brockton about every vote counts, going all the way back to 1981 with that contested election. Okay, we now have Ward 3 in total. So those are all 3 of the precincts, and that is Jerry Cassidy's home ward.
Whoa.
And we have Shirley Asack with 105, Shana Barnes with 126, and Jerry Cassidy with 362. So you're talking about geography, Senator, and where people are from, and there we go.
Configuration.
And we all know firsthand, you mentioned the mayoral race back then, but even in some of our own races, how important every vote counts. And my race for the rep seat several years ago, after Tommy Kenny moved on to the Senate, was so crucial. We had people knocking on the doors right up until 8 o'clock. And a friend of mine told me way back when I first ran for school committee that you've got to get your vote out. And everybody has the best intentions, but in today's world, you have husbands and wives working, their children have sporting activities. The last thing on their mind is the election process. Though we live and dream it every day and it's part of our lives, but it's so important to get that vote out. And I had 2 other great candidates in my rep seat a couple of years ago, and I won by 14 votes. And I'm so grateful to the residents out there in the city of Brockton. And then in my Senate race, the residents came out overwhelmingly, and my heart is forever grateful to the residents of this community in Brockton, because I wouldn't be here as a representative and a senator without the citizens of Brockton.
Well, I got the whole numbers for Ward 2. So let's put them up on the screen and we'll take a look. Ward 2, Shirley Asack, 183. Shana Barnes, 130, and Jerry Cassidy, 222 votes. Okay, Ward 2, again, that's where Jerry grew up, as you pointed out, and it's all 4 of them. So we're looking at a trend here. We need 4 next and 7, which is Shirley's home precinct. So right now, there's quite a spread, I think. I don't have Larry's.
It's easily Jerry Cassidy with just the wards 2, 3, and Ward 5, including the precincts, is out plus 600 plus votes. and the next closest contender is like 225.
I mean, I do have total numbers, but I
yeah.
don't have them officially, so we're going to get them. They seem to be coming in pretty quickly tonight, and we'll post them as soon as we have them, but you're right.
This is not surprising at all. I mean, I think that this is a clear indication of the work that, in this case, the Cassidy campaign formulated coming off of the senator's great record out there and the networking that was done out there. We've got Ward 4.
We've got Ward 4, so we'll put the Ward 4 numbers up on the screen. Okay, we have Shirley Asack with 71, Shayna Barnes with 119, and Jerry Cassidy with 133. So we have only one left. We have Shirley Asack's home precinct, the 2 precincts in Ward 7 that she currently represents. So, you know, keeping with the numbers, it's definitely a Cassidy trend. I had the numbers about 15 minutes ago, but I didn't have them officially. I had them from a very good source, but not officially. So we'll wait for the 7 numbers to come in. So additional reactions?
Well, this district, as those of you who follow state politics and legislative politics, this was a district created as what was referred to a majority-minority district. And it was because the districts are created on the number of folks who live in the district and what their racial makeup is. And this was one of those majority-minority districts. There were a number of them throughout the state. But I think, as Larry pointed out, when you get down to an actual election, and I remember when they drew this district up, I told now Senator Brady, I said, then Representative Brady, I said, you will be elected in that district until you're 110 and never have an opponent. But see, the Boston crowd that promotes these redistricting, they don't understand the local areas as those of us who live here do. I mean, and Michael, you could have stayed there, you were 110. You can do that now in the Senate district.
Okay, we have Ward 7. I'm going to go right to the 7 numbers because obviously people want the numbers right away. So let's take a look at 7. Ward 7, which is Shirley Asack's wards that she represents, 131, Shayna Barnes at 100, and Jerry Cassidy at 127. So we have all of the numbers in from all the precincts, and I have a calculator, so I'm going to make sure we have the numbers. Okay, well, I don't need the calculator. This is the numbers I got from a very good source. We will call the election at this point. It is 8:42, and Jerry Cassidy has 880 votes. The next one is Shirley Asack with 572 votes, followed by Shayna Barnes with 526 votes. So I'm not good with percentages in my head, but it's pretty convincing. And I think what clerk, and I keep calling him senator because I knew him as senator longer than I did as clerk, said about the geography. So why don't you elaborate on that a little bit, Senator?
Well, again, this is a state legislative district. The intention when the district was drawn was to create what is referred to as a majority-minority district. That is to say, a district where the majority of the voters would be minorities, and an effort to elect someone who's a minority. And there were a number of them created throughout the state. But in this instance, when you looked at the 3 candidates, I think Jerry is a fellow who was involved in Tommy's campaigns for years. He knew how to identify the vote. He knew how to pull the vote. And I think, again, I'll have to talk to John McGarry tomorrow, but I would like to see the number of absentee ballots, and I would suspect most of them went for Jerry.
Well, one thing we'd like to do, we have our folks out on the road, and we're going to stay here for a little bit because we want to get some reactions from the candidates. I was just asked, are you guys coming to the COD soon? So I'm hoping that one of our crew members, it's hard to get to 3 different headquarters in one place with one crew. When you're dealing with the news stations in Boston, you have multiple people doing that. Okay, so Jerry Cassidy is over at Cape Cod Cafe. That was a restaurant question during the campaign, if you remember.
I saw that.
A couple of people asked that. And from what I understand, Shirley Asack is over at Joe Angelo's, and Shana Barnes is over at Tinrace. Larry has the percentages. I like the percentages, okay? So
Well, I mean, it's interesting to realize that, in this case, Representative-elect Jerry Cassidy, we can call him that now, Senator, is that correct?
Yes.
You know, actually won this race with under 50% of the vote. He only had 44% of the vote.
Larry, I didn't want to say that for fear that back when my brother ran against the two Buckleys, John Buckley and
Yeah.
Greg, I said, Michael, in order for not to have somebody running against us, you've got to win over 50% of the vote.
That's correct. I mean,
That's a rule of thumb in the business.
right. And I mean, we had, obviously, from the second place, Shirley Azak had 29% of the vote, and, you know, Shana Barnes with the 27% of the vote that were cast. 1,978 votes, that were just shy of 11%, Mark, is what we got? Just shy of 11%. Not surprising from the Election Commission point of view, because that's what they had predicted.
we're going to run the numbers up on the screen again and take a look at it, and we'll finish the percentages that Larry has on the piece of paper. But congratulations to Representative-elect Jerry Cassidy with 880 votes. The numbers, looks like we had a little backwards numbers on one of them. We have a one vote. This is what I was talking about.
Shirley and
Okay,
Shana,
Shirley
one
and
vote.
Shana, one vote apart. Shirley second with 527, and Shana with 526. Those are the numbers I got from a very good source, but I thought the other one was a little bit more official. So back to every vote counts. So Larry's going to recalculate the numbers. It's a good thing that cell phones have calculators on them, right? That one, I thought the candidates were fairly evenly matched. I was lucky enough to participate and be a panelist and a moderator, and then I ran the audio on the third debate at the chamber. I thought both of the city councilors had good command of their facts and good information, but all the way along, if you really think about it, Jerry Cassidy was the guy behind the scenes for a long time with Senator Kennedy. I knew Jerry Cassidy a long time. He was there. He was more in the background. I think I asked him the question about being in the foreground, and as you saw on the recording earlier in the day, he said he much preferred to run someone else's campaign than to run his own campaign, because Jerry's a very humble guy. He's a very nice person, and you know, now it's his turn to step up to the plate. You got the percentages now?
And a world-class racquetball player.
Yeah, I found that out. I found that out from two sources.
One of the best.
We asked
One
the
of the
question,
best.
what would you say about, you know, something we wouldn't otherwise know about you? And I heard that, but I had heard it 2 days before from a good friend of mine named Cheryl Savage, who used to work over at Massasoit, now at the VNA. He was her racquetball coach and a friend of hers. So I knew that before the question came out. It was kind of interesting. We are going to try to get some footage from the Cassidy headquarters and possibly the other two headquarters, but more thoughts. Anything you have to say?
Well, we know this is only a 8-month seat because we're coming right back for a statewide election this year. These numbers for the second and third place finishers certainly have got to be discouraging for them to consider the potential of a rematch 8 months from now. You know, so it certainly, you know, leads to that the Cassidy camp did their homework, they did the groundwork, they got the voters, you know, to the polls, and I think the victory, I think, is a little bit bigger than most of us might have thought it was going to be, you know.
I certainly didn't think it was going to be a one-vote margin between two. I
not
originally
those
thought
two,
there
yeah.
was going to be about 25, 50 votes. I thought it was going to be another close race, actually, like Michael Brady's race back in 2008, to be honest with you. But Jerry had the firefighters behind him. He worked out at Firefighters Hall today over at on Perkins Ave. A lot of union endorsements, okay? The interesting thing about this race is if you're a late night owl and you can't sleep like me and you go and read the OCPF reports, the ones that are public up to the 7 days before, the interesting stuff comes back when it's, you know, right up, the final report at the end. But Jerry had a lot of endorsements, and those unions, a lot of them were the same ones that supported you, Senator, the Mass Nurses Association, the ones
Absolutely.
that
And-
really
and I'll
work
tell
hard
you,
to get out the
I
vote.
wouldn't be here as an elected official without a lot of good organization support. We've always had a good working relationship with the nurses. I marched with them at Brockton Hospital, which is now Signature Healthcare, when they're on strike not once but twice, protecting collective bargaining rights, protecting workers' rights. And it was so important in my race, not only, even back to the city council, I had support from the teachers in Brockton with the Brockton Education Association, but in my representative's race, I had a tremendous amount of support from a lot of good organizations, SEIU, the nurses, et cetera, and I think it definitely was a tremendous boost to Jerry Cassidy winning today. But I also know the work ethic too, and as I give all three candidates credit, but we've got to congratulate Jerry Cassidy. He won, and I'm looking forward to working with him. And we all have to run again for re-election in a few months, because when our good friend Tommy Kennedy passed away, that was a special election as well. So we're all up again this fall, and prior to that, I'm up again as a state committee member on the Democratic State Committee on March 1st with the presidential primary, so I've got to get work on that. So as the cliche goes, there's never any rest for the weary, as they say. And as you know, and as a good friend the clerk stated, I've got to continue to do my job in the community here and continue to work with our fellow other elected officials, because as we mentioned, it's time to move forward. We've got a lot of work to do at the state level. We're coming up with this budget that, though there is a little bit of an increase in Chapter 70 money in local aid, there's other funding areas that have been cut. And I know there's a deficit, but it's so important, we got to deliver the money home to Brockton.
Let me ask the question about being able to deliver the money home. When you really look at the delegation representing Brockton today, Claire Cronin is the senior legislator now in the House in representing Brockton, and she's only in her second term.
Yeah, it's amazing, and I'm the old man in the Senate now from Brockton. And as Bob Creedon used to mention, give youth a chance years ago, and then I've got more gray hairs and a little bit less body shape than I had when I first started. I'm a little overweight, but I'm considered the senior man out of the Brockton delegation. That gets scary at some point.
That's real scary, Mike.
In our heart and so forth, we think we're still young, but then our body's telling us we're like 80-something years old, so it's not easy. But I think we're going to have a good group to work with, and we got to continue to work with the local city councils who are there, and the mayor, and the school committee, and it's so important. And I don't mean to be repetitive, but the Patriots, they lost this year, but all their past Super Bowls, they didn't win with just Tom Brady. They won with a great team effort and, of course, a great coach. And they lost a few guys this year because of severe injuries. So I'm looking forward to working with our current state delegation, our newly elected Representative Jerry Cassidy, who I've known for quite some time, and then our Brockton city elected officials. And again, I give credit to everybody who ran today, all great people, but I'm looking forward to working with Jerry Cassidy. And there's no rest. We've got to get moving ASAP, because this area is so depending on state funding.
And the way it works now is there is an election on March 1st. The person doesn't get sworn in tomorrow, because
That's
even
correct.
though there was no Republican candidate, we still don't have any clue.
And
What is the number of votes that you have to get as write-in to be the candidate? Does anybody know the answer to that question? I've heard 150, I've heard 184, I don't know where that number came from.
It's the amount of signatures you need to get on the ballot.
Oh, so the 150.
Yeah, for
And
state
this is-
senator, it's 300. For rep, it's 150.
And this is a very big, important thing. We have to get everybody out to vote from this area on March 1st, because there still is another election on March 1st.
Correct.
So that March 1st, and what's interesting is in Plymouth County, there was a Representative Coulter, down in his district, who was unopposed last time. He got both nominations, I believe.
Yes,
I think he
that's
worked
correct.
really hard to get both nominations, just so he didn't have an opponent and he could run against himself. I thought that was pretty
Oddly enough,
clever.
Mark, my wife, former Representative Jerry Creedon, is from Springfield. And her grandfather, Lewis Morton Twitchell, see, we're not totally Irish.
Okay.
He was the Superior Court clerk for Hampden County. He would run in the Democratic primary and win. He would run in the Republican primary and win, and never have an opponent in November.
Wow.
You don't see that much anymore.
Nope.
But the other thing that we have to pay attention to is, as Mike points out, voter turnout. Statewide politicians will listen to local people if they know that, for example, Brockton turns out a huge vote. Brockton becomes an important player based on voter turnout. If you don't have voter turnout, they're going to look at you and say, we don't need you.
And that's so important in the federal level as well. And this March 1st primary is a presidential primary as well. It's so important no matter who the people out there are supporting. We have to get the people out there to vote because they are looking at the numbers at the federal level, they're looking at the numbers at the state level, and these higher seats are going to pay attention if the people from our community get out and vote. And I've always stressed that. And it's a God-given right that our forefathers fought for. We have freedoms in this country that unfortunately sometimes are taken for granted. Even water in Brockton, we joked about it. You know, we had a pipe break in East Bridgewater over the past couple months, and there was a major situation going on, even though we have the desalination plant down in Dighton. But, you know, usually you turn on the faucet, you get hot and cold water, you almost take it for granted. Other communities don't have those options, and we're so fortunate that we have the services, but we still have to work together because there's so many other things we need in this community. And as I mentioned, everybody has to get out and vote, no matter who they're supporting. So I asked everybody who are listening tonight, if this is shown in the next couple of days, please remember we have a big election on March 1st. I asked for your vote as a state committee member, but the other candidates you're supporting, please get out and vote. Thank you for inviting me tonight, Mark, and Larry, and the good clerk. And we even need some more funding for the clerk's office. From years ago, being held by a different administration, we still don't get the funding for Brockton and Plymouth County like other districts do. And it shows how old our Superior Courthouse is here in Brockton. As I mentioned, the DA's office. We still need to work diligently to deliver the Bacon home here. So,
Got that right. We've got, our county has, other counties with similar caseloads have almost double the clerks we have. Throwback to the old days.
Well, I mean, in terms of that funding, I think we have the folks that are going to work hard to bring that in. That college collaborative, I couldn't.
I'm counting on my senator to.
Michael, I know you want to get out. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
thank you.
Michael.
Okay. We're going to stay
Night,
here
Michael.
and hang tough to get some information. We want to see the video from Cassidy headquarters. Our people are en route. And one thing people might not know about cable TV. Cable TV doesn't have live capability like broadcast TV. Broadcast TV, you put up a microwave antenna and you can drive any place you want and get a live signal. Cable has signals in municipal buildings. Cape Cod Cafe is not a municipal building. The other restaurants aren't a municipal building. So we're doing the old-fashioned way. It's Pony Express. No, only kidding. It's actually driving in a car, getting video, and bringing it back. The interesting thing, though, now is it's no more tape. It's a little computer chip that you take out of the camera and you stick into the machine. We just got new equipment. You're looking at this live election coverage with 3 new cameras, a new control room, and a crackerjack crew. And folks out in the field, we may be small. We're not Channel 5, but we bring as much as we can to you as soon as we can. What was interesting that Senator Brady talked about was cooperation between the delegation, between the city council, the school committee, the mayor, all of that stuff. And Senator Creedon brought up the whole thing about voter turnout. Okay, I was told once by a city councilor who will remain nameless that if the people on your street were regular voters, when it comes down to deciding what street to get paved, there was a street adjacent to me at one point, double the voters, that was the street that got paved first. So, and just kind of going back to the comment about the councilor at large, I had Papa Studensky, as I'll call him, who once told me, just call me directory assistants, and I'll give you the number of your ward counselor who can help you. He would help you, no question, but the ward counselors are really where the rubber meets the road.
Where the rubber meets the road.
And the school committee members as well. The school committee members, if you think about it, they really go out there and they go to the PAC meetings, the PTO meetings, the fundraisers and all of that. They have more subcommittee meetings than anybody. That school committee has subcommittee meetings, and they're hard workers, and, you know.
You know, I don't mean to interject a sardonic or cynical note, but I remember in my first year in the legislature, I had a bill for, when you go shopping, a little orange unit pricing sticker, that's my legislation, 1969. And the Globe, the Herald, and the then Record American, the newspapers wouldn't publish my press release. They were suppressing all the news on unit pricing. So I was in the back room of the State House grousing, and an old-timer, Emmett Cawley from Holyoke, he was in his 70s then, he said, "Kid, come here." And he opened up the old Herald, which had a globe format, such as today. He says, "What's that?" I said, "Well, it's an A&P ad, full page." "What's this?" Next page, "Star Market." He says, "Show me where Creedon is giving any money to these newspapers." I said, "You mean to tell me that they're in the tank on this one, the newspapers, because the supermarkets don't want unit pricing?" He says, "You got it, kiddo." He said, "Don't you know why the founding fathers built the State House on a hill, Beacon Hill?" I said, "No, I don't." He said, "To constantly remind the citizens that nothing up here is on a level." So hopefully all the young kids are in bed by now, and not to share that cynicism. But, you know, if you're in this business, you've got to be kind of on your toes. And today, oddly enough, until a certain candidate got into this presidential thing, I wouldn't bother listening to the debates because they're all pablum. They all do their polls, and they won't answer a question, an honest question.
Right.
And so that's one of our problems today in this business. But I know the two of you are asking the tough questions, and I'm at home watching your shows. I enjoy your questions.
Well, we enjoy doing it. It's to me, it goes arm in arm with public service. Okay?
Absolutely.
Educating voters about candidates and giving everybody the opportunity to be on, because, you know, there wasn't a lot of media coverage on this race.
No.
It seems to be declining over the years. We've luckily partnered with Kevin Tocci at ATD. We don't have a local licensed Brockton radio station. We have ethnic radio, which is unlicensed. That's a whole nother story I'm not going to get into right now. But we have newspapers. But newspapers, I remember back in the day, if you looked at the old Brockton Enterprise of old, when it was the Brockton Enterprise, you had Round City Hall, Bruce Smith. You had correspondents that came from each individual town. I used to like to check out what was going on in the elections in the other towns.
I had somebody from the Enterprise call me at the courthouse. This was 3 or 4 years ago. And she said to me, "Bob, how many people do you think are in the newsroom now?" I said, "Well, in my day, it's around 2 o'clock. They'd all leave at 3. My day, there'd be about, including stringers from the towns, there'd be 35 or 40 people there. 3. 3. So it's changed. I mean, my brothers and I were paper boys. The paper was 40 pages long. And one last salvo, somebody the other day was moaning about the cost of government. I said, "Well, look, in the old days, we were all patrol boys. Now there's no patrol boys. They're all crossing guards, and they get paid pretty good money. And no more paper boys.
Nope.
They're all adults delivering in automobiles."
Well, look at what's going on with the deliveries lately. It's a little crazy.
My Globe, no Globe today.
Well, I think
You have to call somebody in India.
Yeah.
what I would like to do at this point is just put the numbers back up on the screen, if we could, the final numbers. And I'm considering, while we're waiting for the video, taking a break so we can kind of regroup. I'm going to just run over the numbers one more time, and then we'll go to our new wide shot before we leave and take a little break, put up the music, and we can regroup a little bit. So the winner of this race, Representative-elect Jerry Cassidy, former Ward 3 councilor, with 880 votes and a 1-vote margin between Shirley Azak, city councilor in Ward 6, who came in second, and Shana Barnes, who came in third, 526. Don't have write-ins at this point in time. We'll probably have that information more likely tomorrow, or blanks, because there's always blanks. I used to have a running joke with Councilor at Large Moses Rodriguez about blank votes. Okay, so at this point, gentlemen, We're gonna take a brief break, and we will come back with our video, hopefully from Cassidy headquarters. You're watching Brockton Community Access. Stay tuned for more information coming up shortly. Thanks for watching. And we're back here live in Brockton Community Access Studios. Mark Lindy along with Clerk of Courts Robert Creedon and former Senator, and Larry Curtis here at BCA Studios. We have a video from 3 different folks. We have our Election Commissioner, John McGarry first, Representative-elect Jerry Cassidy, and Councilor from Ward 7, Shirley Asack. Let's take a look and see what they had to say.
We're here with John McGarry. John, it's Super Bowl night for you. Election night here in the city of Brockton. Tell us about the race going on and what you think is the turnout.
Well, we've got a very good race going between 3 capable candidates on the Democratic ballot, and they are the only party that has candidates that are officially running in today's election.
2 minutes.
We're seeing at 6 o'clock we had a 9.5%
voter turnout, so we should make the 10% to 10 to 11% turnout that was predicted. It's really a case where the person that targeted their vote and got it out is going to be successful.
Now, this sets up March for the general election. It falls on the same day as the presidential primary. We're expecting a much bigger turnout for that one, first of all. And second of all, there is no other listed candidate as of now, but that could change.
Correct. If one of the parties did do a sticker candidate or a writing candidacy, they would still need to get 150 votes for that person. If that person is successful, then they go through some steps with the Secretary of State's office, and they could be on the March ballot. So for those 12 precincts that are involved today, they will be receiving 2 ballots in March. They'll get the general election ballot for this seat, for the 9th Plymouth District, and they'll get the presidential primary ballot. Now, they're going to be handed the special ballot, the special election ballot, but if they are unenrolled or they belong to one of the minor political designations that now are allowed to vote, they will have to choose the ballot that they want. Democrats can only pull a Democratic ballot, and Republicans can only pull a Republican ballot, and United Independent and Green Rainbow can only pull their respective ballots also. But the unenrolled voter is going to have to make a choice when they go up to the table and they give their name and address.
Final thoughts?
I just want to congratulate the candidates. It's a tough time of year to run an election, to get out there. Thankfully, Mother Nature was very kind to them and provided them with a great final weekend before this election. And today, there was no excuse today not to go out because of weather. So I think they've all done a great job. They've been out pounding the pavement, and I wish them all luck.
Thanks, John. Back to you, Mark.
Thank you very much, Claire. Thank you so much. It's just overwhelming. Back in 1983, Tom Kennedy was right down the street, and everybody here, an awful lot of people were here. In '83 was a special election. Tom Kennedy was running this campaign all about. People said, "Oh, don't expound upon that." But Tommy, we love you very much. You ran this campaign, and we're going to make Brockton an awfully better place. Saying that, moving on, it's just incredible that since November 11th we started this race, and it's all about the people here in Brockton. I want to thank Shana Barnes and Shirley Asack for running a nice, clean campaign. That's what this whole thing is about. Now we can work together as a team and make Brockton a better place, and all the councilors and all the support that we've gotten. I can't mention all of them because there's just an overwhelming support. It's just wonderful. I could just mention everybody here, and drinks are on Timmy, by the way. But we're going to make this city of Brockton a much better place with, fine representatives like Claire Cronin, my good and dear friend,
She is a Brocktonian. Brocktonian, it never leaves you, right, Claire? And I'm going to look forward to working with her. And I just want to say a couple things. My mother and father would be very proud of me as representing Forest. I moved from Forest Ave to Myrtle Street to Woodard Ave. My next move would probably be over to Calvary. I'm not moving out of the city. But my Caroline, where are you? Caroline, thank you very much. You rock, as G-Dog would say. You truly worked so hard, and as did my daughter Bridget, who I love very much. Thank you, Bridget. Of course, my son Ned, he's my rock here. You're a good man. So very proud of you. But Megan. I've been running campaigns for 30 years now with Tom Kennedy, doing things, organizing everything. She says, nope, you have to go in the background and do this, listen to me. That's the toughest part of today, was standing in the background, not running the campaign. But Megan, I love you each and every day. This is a lot stronger relationship with you and I love you forever. And one of the questions in the debate was, what separates you from Mike Brady and Tom Kennedy over the years? And I thought about it. I said, I'm not going to speak as much as they did. So, saying that, I just want to say thank you very much. Love you guys very much. And as Bill Belichick would say, on to the State House.
Jerry, you won by 300 votes. What's going through your mind right now?
It's just an overwhelming support of the constituents of Brockton, and I just want to thank Shana Barnes and, of course, Shirley Azak. They ran a very clean campaign. That's what Brockton's all about. We're just proud to be here in the city, and we're going to make Brockton a better city.
Now, there isn't a challenger as of yet on the general election on March 1st. Are you still campaigning? What's the plan going forward?
We're always campaigning. There's another election also in a month, and I'd like to still get out there and speak to the voters, because there'll be another election in the fall.
Final thoughts?
Final thoughts. It's just wonderful to be here at the Cape Cod Cafe celebrating a victory, but we just have to realize that we have a lot of work to do ahead.
Congratulations, Jerry.
Thank you.
Back to you, Mark.
Much.
We're here with Shirley Azak. Shirley, a disappointing loss today.
It is disappointing. It's disappointing because I had an amazing group of people behind me that worked with me, and we all worked together really to run a really clean campaign on our end. So we're happy. There's nothing else we could have done. There's nothing else that I would have done differently. So I'm thankful for the people that were behind me, and I can't thank them enough.
Now, Jerry kind of pulled away, but you lost to one vote to Shana Barnes. Talk about the people that say not every vote matters.
Every vote does matter, and I wish more people had come out to vote today, but every vote matters. And I also congratulate Councilor Barnes for for the race, for being on the ballot with her. I mean, it was an honor to be on the ballot with them. So I called and congratulated Jerry. So tomorrow we're back where we've been working, so we just continue doing what we have been doing. And my biggest thing is I can't thank these people enough. The people that are here tonight are people that have been working since November, since we announced that we were running, and they worked right up until a half an hour ago. So I'm very happy to just have them here with me, and I can't thank them enough. I'm heartwarming.
Looking down the road, what's next? I know there's another state rep election down in September and then November. Are you thinking about going for that one?
Right now, I'm not thinking about anything except taking care of Brockton. We'll continue to do that tomorrow, and que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be.
Thank you, Shirley. Back to you, Mark.
And now we are back to me. Thank you, Matt, and thank you, Aaron, for doing that great video. The two headquarters were kind of close by. We haven't had a chance to talk to Councilor at Large, Shana Barnes. She's over at Tinrays on the other side of town, so apologies to Shana. But it's about 9:18. I think I told you guys at the beginning of the night I was thinking 9:15, 9:20, something like that. Final thoughts from both of you before we wrap the show? Senator?
I just think that Jerry, Cassidy, Larry, every comment was about how clean the election was, which can make us all proud as Brocktonians. And the other aspect is the hard work that all three of these candidates put in and the folks that worked with them. They frankly made us proud as Brocktonians.
Definitely agree. Larry?
I had no real surprises, I think, in the outcome here. It's always disappointing when only 10, 11% of the voting population that's eligible to vote comes out. And I think, as we saw Senator Brady state earlier, we need to get these voters out so that on the state and federal level they recognize that we are a force to be reckoned with when we go to the polls and we vote, you know.
Hear, hear.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, both for being here today. My final thought on this is there's always an election tomorrow. We have a March 1st presidential primary. We also have the city committees on the Democratic and the Republican side get elected on that date. And then we will be on, as Senator Brady put it, he has to run for re-election in the fall. And I did say Rep-elect Cassidy. I hope it's not premature, because if there were 150 names on the Republican side, there still could be a contested election going forward. But we'll just put those numbers up on the screen one more time, if we could, before we close out for the night. With 880 votes, that is Ward 2 up on the screen. District totals: Jerry Cassidy, 880 votes. Shana Barnes, 526. Shirley Asack, 527. So just to prove the point, every vote counts. On behalf of the crew and the staff here at Brockton Community Access, all the way from Jay Miller at pretty much sunrise this morning to everybody else out in the field, and I appreciate all the help with volunteers, interns, and staff at Brockton Community Access. We will bid you farewell for tonight, and we may be back if there's a contested state representative election. Otherwise, we'll leave it to the networks for the presidential election, the presidential primary in March. So on behalf of my staff and crew at Brockton Community Access, have a good night. Thanks for watching.